Oh, this definitely shouldn't look like that. Well, I finally come across something that does not work when using it to post-process TPU, at least in my case. If you're new to my TPU series, I've been printing different cosplay props and armor in TPU and then trying different products in post-processing to see what works and doesn't work. This knee guard that you see here was primed with a flexible primer from SEM, and you can see this primer is cracking really badly. But if you look at this elbow guard here, this was primed with the exact same flexible primer, and you can see there is no cracking when I flex it. So what was the difference? Well, for the elbow guard that didn't crack, prior to priming, I coated it with this UV 3D printing resin. This is ABS-like resin, and this is the resin that I normally use to post-process even my PLA and PETG prints. Coating my props with UV resin before priming is just my favorite way of filling in most of the layer lines. I also use this on my other TPU props if you saw my other videos, and those came out fine. For the knee guard where you see the primer cracking, I actually used a different type of resin. One that I thought would work better is this Soraya Tech Tenacious Flex Black. This is a very flexible resin. This is a failed resin print, and you can see how squishy this resin actually is. I thought since TPU was flexible that this Flex Black Tenacious would be perfect for post-processing, and obviously I was very wrong. I was hoping that using the flexible resin to fill in those layer lines would help maintain the flexibility of the TPU prints a little bit more, because yes, using the ABS resin does make the TPU prints a little bit harder. You can still flex it a little bit, but it's definitely a little harder. Now, keep in mind that the prints that I've been doing in TPU don't really need to be super flexible. I'm only printing in TPU for durability. What did I end up doing with the knee guard? I was gonna actually sand down the primer and coat it with the ABS-like resin and start all over, but Jordan told me, hey, why don't you just paint it and see what happens? So I did. I sanded and I wet sanded, and then I threw on a coat of this Duplicolor vinyl and fabric flexible paint that I got from the automotive store. And this is a very flexible paint. I use this on my other props if you saw my other videos, and actually it came out pretty good. A lot of the cracks were covered, and yes, if you flexed it, you could still see a little bit of that cracking, but honestly, this piece needed to be weathered anyway, so I went with it. For the top coat, I went with a gold rub and buff. I went light so that the black would come through and give it that antique gold used look. I ended up intentionally flexing the piece more to induce more cracking to give it more of a battered, weathered look. Here's the finished knee guard. I did wear this at Comic Palooza for my Vi costume. Was it any more comfortable than the PLA printed knee guard that I had? No. These edges still dug into my legs and my knees. It was just very uncomfortable to wear. I think in the future, I'm actually gonna get a real knee pad and glue this on top. That way the pad sits on top of my leg and my knee, and I think this will be way more comfortable then.